let's talk about embracing reality because President Trump, he wants the killing to stop. He said that as much. But let's say in this deal, Ukraine concedes some land to Russia. Based on history, based on what we're seeing now, is there any indication that that's good enough for Russia, that Russia would stop? Or does Russia want more?
We know Russia wants more because Vladimir Putin has told us this. He has made he's given several interviews over the last year in which he has been explicit, naming off all of the countries that used to be part of the far-flung Russian Empire over a century ago and even older than that. And he has said, these are all Russian lands right now. I am focused specifically on Ukraine. But so when the Ukrainians say we are a living shield for the rest of Europe, if we fall, Russia will then start attacking other US allies in Europe. The Ukrainians are not off base. They're simply repeating what Putin himself has said are his intentions. These are very high stakes. Now, when it comes to how do we get to a ceasefire and a longer term peace, obviously freezing the line of battle where it is right now, not allowing Russia to take over parts of Ukraine that it does not currently control, and then injecting European security guarantors into this mix. Well, those are critical components of any enduring peace. That's where we need to get to. But right now, there are no indications that Putin has any desire to get to that point.
I hear you when you say that these are really high stakes, but just how high are these stakes? Is there any indication that Ukraine concedes some land here and then Russia eventually steamrolls Ukraine? There's a World War III and they attack American allies in Europe.
Well, I think that's an accurate assessment. Just think about this. Right now, according to public reporting, NATO's supreme allied headquarters in Europe has calculated that Russia will be in a position to attack a US NATO ally in Europe in less than 5 years. And that's under current conditions. What we could see as a nightmare scenario is that there is a short-term peace, the fighting stops, Russia rebuilds, retools, and has learned a lot of lessons from the war over the past few years, and doesn't make any of the past mistakes again. That would be in line with Russia's traditional way of fighting. Fight, 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 lose, 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 learn those lessons, and then win, win, win. That's how Russia won on the Eastern Front in Europe, and that is our nightmare scenario in 21st century Europe. Preventing that means stabilizing the line of battle now, re-bolstering, re-equipping, rearming Ukraine, and then making sure that we communicate through our alliance structures that any attack on Ukraine or a NATO country would be a catastrophic mistake on Russia's part. Signaling back in 2022 was all wrong, and we led perhaps Vladimir Putin to believe he could do another smash and grab and take the whole country as he did in a smaller scale in 2014 with Crimea. Signaling and action are how we prevent nightmare scenarios.
Earlier this week, the United States threatened to abandon these peace talks if Ukraine and Russia couldn't come to an agreement. How real do you think that threat is, and what happens if the United States follows through on that?
Well, certainly we have learned one important lesson, and that is Vladimir Putin doesn't bluff. If he says he's going to do something, he intends to follow through. One of the biggest mistakes that we've made in the West over the last 2 decades, think about that, is to hear what Vladimir Putin says and dismiss him, thinking, well, that's too crazy, that's too aggressive. He would never try that or consider that. And yet Vladimir Putin always follows through on his threats. When Vladimir Putin says something, we need to take it very seriously and assume he's speaking the truth, at least from his perspective.
President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is in Moscow meeting with Putin today. What are you expecting to come out of that conversation? What are you looking out for after that meeting?
I expect Putin to do what he's always done with envoy Witkoff, that is to play the good cop. Remember, his military plays the bad cop in this scenario. Often, he's very clearly created a close relationship with envoy Witkoff, perhaps too close. If the United States is acting as a neutral mediator between two warring parties, you don't want to be seen as favoring one side. It will antagonize the other side. So I expect Vladimir Putin to insert new poison pills into the negotiation process, saying, well, if only the Ukrainians would give me one more thing, then maybe I'd think about stopping my armies from fighting the Ukrainians. Obviously, he's playing for time. He's stringing along the White House. He thinks he's in control of these negotiations because he's not negotiating. He's dictating terms. Vladimir Putin is dictating the terms of a potential peace. That's not good for the United States. It's terrible for the Ukrainians. And that's why, like I said, we should slam the door on Putin's negotiation technique, take off the velvet gloves, and apply maximum economic pressure on Russia to force Putin screaming to the peace table, begging for a ceasefire. That's how you negotiate with Moscow.
Well, there's certainly a lot to look out for. And as the situation continues to develop, Peter Duran, I hope you come back on and break it down with us. Thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me.